let's just get into it. How did it start, and how long did it take for you to write Bantu Nuts?
It took me 7 years. I
That's a
know
long
that's like longer than normal people, and I'm hoping that my next one will take as long. Uh, but I think I needed to sort of figure myself out as a writer first, and figure out what sort of stories I want to tell and how I want to tell them, because I didn't think that I would tell stories in this form. I've always been in a performance space. So the closest I've been to writing was like writing for theater, writing plays and whatever. It's never been a novel or a book or whatever. So even finding my way to this point, I think that's what took so long. The journey's been quite long because I've been trying to figure myself out, and yeah, so it's been 7 years.
Right, but how did what kept your manuscripts, your baby manuscript? Because I can imagine, like, I mean, I've lost a couple of stories, right? And I go like, because I keep them everywhere. So how did you preserve it for so long?
I don't write with a pen. I type everything. My hand gets so tired. Like I do you write with like pen on paper?
Yeah, I start there. Yeah.
So cool. That is so cool.
I'm old school.
That's very cool. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. But my hand gets so tired that I'm like, oh. So I just literally, I always type. I type everything, and I always email myself. So after doing like one draft, I'll email it to myself, and that's how I keep stuff, because laptops crash. Also, it's very easy to lose your work.
Right.
Yeah.
I cannot type because it's so distracting for me. Like this, I have so much fun typing. I cannot concentrate. Like literally, I enjoy typing. I'm like, girl, give me something to type. I'll type it up. It's so fun. So I cannot do it while I'm trying to come up with a storyline as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because I would just I'm easily distracted too. So I write. My book, I like wrote it in bits and pieces, and then luckily a friend of mine was on a study break, so I sent it to him. I was like, type it. He said, you want to support me, so here we go, type it. And but I'm lucky enough. Yeah,
that's a nice friend to have.
Yes. So I'm lucky enough that he did that, and then he sent it to me, and then I edited everything. But you see, I really commend you for that. For sitting down and telling a story on your computer. That's amazing.
I commend you. Like, I like the old school stuff. It's the same with when it comes to physical books. I prefer a physical book.
Yes.
Because I like old school things.
Right.
So the fact that you're like pen and paper, that's nice. Yeah. I wish I could do that.
It's
and
fine.
Your journey. I was trying to figure out what your title means.
Yeah, the Amhara.
Yeah.
So the Amhara, the Amharic people are an ethnic group in Ethiopia. So it was inspired by a friend of mine that was here on a postgraduate program. He's from Ethiopia, right? And when because when you travel, you meet different people from like all over the world. So when I met him, I was like, oh my goodness, I know nothing about Ethiopia. So can you school me? That came very effortless to him because he actually enjoys telling stories, and I'm very good at asking questions. So they don't really call themselves the Amhara people. They call themselves Habeshan. But I was like, that's not catchy. So I'm gonna go with the Amhara. So yeah, that's and in the week that we've been talking, I was so tempted to say to you, let me know what your book is about, but I figured I think it's better if you tell me.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I was so
yeah.
close this morning. I was so close to actually just researching, and I was like, no, no, back
Oh,
up. Oh,
yeah.
yeah. So what is
So this is like an indigenous group in Ethiopia.
like like a tribal group, like say Zulu people or Ndebele people, like
Yeah.
yeah.
Is your friend Amhara?
Yes, yes, yeah, he is.
Ah,
It was
okay.
easy. But he only
So,
has well, not him per se, but the character in the book, the Amhara, his story makes up at least 70%. No, I lied. Like 50% of the book,
mm,
and then there's like other things that go on. You know, I have two main characters.
so you based it off his life.
Yes and no. He inspired it, but it
Inspired
was
it.
yeah. He inspired it. Yeah, yeah. That was
Mm,
nice. And then I kind of like, you know how it is. You steal from other people's lives and stories and
yeah,
experiences.
true.
Then you just kind of mold it together.
Uh,
Tell me what your book is about.
well, mine is a South African township story. About a girl. It's a coming of age story about a girl living with her mom and her grandmother. And we basically look at her journey from the age of 12 to 21, which is all that adolescent girly stuff of trying to figure yourself out, of trying to get your dreams aligned and all of that. So, but also at the same time, we're looking at the relationship dynamic between her and her mother, as well as her grandmother.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And there's no
So
paternal figure in the house. Is it like a typical Black South African community?
typical, yes. It's very, very typical. Although she does talk about her dad. Her dad is in the picture here and there,
Right, right. Yeah.
but not fully present. So yeah, it's the typical story of most Black families where you live in the grandmother's house. You're raised by your grandmother
Mhm.
and single mothers, and how we try to get these generations to connect. You know, our generation and having conversations with our mothers and our grandmothers and trying to understand each other and understanding culture and tradition in a very modern world that believes in feminism, that believes in art, and questions everything. We question religion, we question why we do certain things in culture. So this is part of her journey to unpacking who she is and also trying to understand the women who have raised her.
Yeah, yeah. You know,
Yeah.
it's a little scary and fascinating at the same time that we could completely not include the male in the story, and as South Africans, we wouldn't even be shocked by that. It's like, oh, okay,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes. It's a very typical South African story, and I was very intentional about that. Like I was thinking about this and the dynamics. Like almost every household doesn't have a male figure
Yeah,
present. It's either an uncle or but not a lot of people are born into this nuclear family. Well, not a lot of black South Africans have the nuclear family, a dad present, a mom,
yeah.
and yeah.
We really need to have these conversations and find out why. I've been listening to some people tell me the explanations from both sides, and it's really interesting. We're kind of messed
Yeah.
up as a nation.
It is. It is. It's and I don't know what it is. I don't know where the breakdown is, because if the dad is absent in the home, it's gonna be hard to model being a real man and a proper committed man should be, which is why we have so many issues with you hear people someone asked me if I look like I'm in a trash thing. And I'm like, no,
Oh,
you
that's
know,
extreme, bro.
yeah, no, that wasn't the point of the story, but it's also trying to figure out where are the breakdowns within our communities, because in as much as within the story I'm looking at the main character's life, Naledi, her environment plays a very big role.
Yeah.
And environment, I mean community.
Yeah.
The neighbors, the guys in the streets, and so she does question, she does look around her and tries to figure out, why does this house look the way it does, where these guys just are not working or are not studying, are not, those things that happen in townships where you just find guys up lonely for me, just
location management, that's what they call
it.
Yes.
Yes. So, and I think it is because there are a lot of absent fathers within households that girls don't know how to have proper relationships with men, and guys don't know how to be present within their own in their own relationships, how to raise their kids, how to stay, don't just be don't have baby mamas or be a baby daddy and
right. Yeah, there is. I think there is a lot to unpack in that regard. And is that what Naledi is going through, unpacking all of those social issues?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
She
it's
she
her
fall
journey.
in love?
Yes, all of it. It's her journey of becoming a woman. So there's all of that. There's issues with her self-esteem, and is she pretty? There's this mold that we have in Black communities of what is beautiful. She's a very dark-skinned girl. She's chubby, so she's not a typical beauty. So that is a big topic. And hair is a big topic. And also relationships with different guys. And the problem comes in because she's raised in a very strict religious household, typical Black family. She struggles to have these conversations about, oh, I'm experiencing this with a guy, or I'm feeling this about my body, and so the whole aim that I was trying to do with the book is to try and question why this topic of relationships and sex and stuff is such a taboo topic in Black households, because these are things that girls go through.
And the things that our mothers and grandmothers went through, but if you dare mention it, my goodness, you will be slaughtered.
Yes. So this is her struggle. This is her struggle with guys and falling in love and trying to understand all of that. What does that mean? What does it mean when he says I'm beautiful? What is, she goes through a lot. She goes through all the things that most girls experience, or most of us have experienced.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what's your story about? I know you said it's based off inspired by your friends.
Your friend. So what I was, I wrote like different stories, right? Because I don't know if you experience the same thing. As a writer, you really cannot stop writing. There's always something.
Yes.
Always a storyline, right? So I remember, sorry, I'm just going off topic a little bit. I remember saying to somebody, it feels like my stories haunt me. So that's why I just keep writing, because they're there, right? And this is really frustrating. I hope you read my book and get frustrated as well. I took 4 different stories, and then I just kind of put them together. Um, that's what I did. And then I tried to link them up a little bit. So the 2 linked together and the other 2 linked together. The first 2, because they're really, really like short stories, I turned that into a prologue. And then the other 2 are then like, the main stories and 2 main characters. Yes. So I'm just going to talk about the main 2 characters. So it's about my Ethiopian friend who is here in Taiwan, right? It was easy for me to write about that because I haven't like been in Africa for a long time. So I feel like some things that I wouldn't have done justice, like yeah, right. And it will be very easy to criticize that because, it's just been a while since I've been home for too long. And so it's easy to kind of like base it here and stuff like that. So both of them are here. The one is a teacher and the other one is a postgraduate student, right? But geez, I'm gonna jinx it now. Okay, so they like meet, and the girl is also going through her own struggles as a foreigner, as a Black woman in Asia. That is like, yeah. So she also goes through her own insecurities, in terms of the hair and because like, the Taiwanese community is a homogeneous community. So there's like a whole lot of people that look the same. So when you're a foreigner, you kind of stand out, right? So, she stands out. Obviously, she's struggling to, find a partner and everything. So she's like, dating there and there. And so in the story, I kind of pick it up at a point where she is with a white man, right? But then in that, she's looking for validation as well, like to say, okay, like how does it feel about my hair? Like how does it feel about this? How does it feel about that? And then he's the guy. Some of my friends have kind of read him as an Asian guy, and I'm just like, you know what, you're allowed to interpret it your own way because I didn't really specify race. But in mind, I actually had a white guy in mind when I was writing that book, only to find out he really does not care about all these physical appearances and stuff. He's also going through his own stuff, like that. Yeah, so it's about that. And with the Amhara, oh boy. Okay, so with him, he finds himself in the psychologist's office because he just went through a loss, right? Like a tragic sudden loss. So he's in the psychologist's office trying to unpack all of that. But he's an African man. He doesn't know how to talk, right? So it kind of takes a while for him to, eventually unpack. And then I tell the story of the psychologist and a little bit about her background. And then I tell a story about, the receptionist and a little bit about, so basically like every character I try to just kind of, like give, this was the aim, to kind of show everybody that everyone has a story. People are the way that they are because they have a story. So man, I went wild with that book, and thanks to Steve Baker because I write what I like. So the whole time I'm like, this is a complete mess, but I write what I like.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it based? I mean, how much of your own personal experiences are in it? Because I'm just looking at you and I'm like, okay, Black girl, foreign country, those different dynamics that's.
No, wait, how dare you steal my question? I was about to ask you that. I was about to ask you the very same question. How much of and your personal life and your personal experiences is in the book?
A little bit. I would say maybe 30%. I grew up in a nuclear family, and so that's very different. I don't live in a house with my grandmother. I wasn't raised by my grandmother. But I think because there's a point when Nalini gets to varsity, I stole a few things. A lot of it is from my own head, but a few experiences from what I've observed, other my friends, or I stayed in an all-girl res in varsity, so seeing some of their girly issues and parties and going clubbing and trying to put my lady who grew up in a household where she was very protected. Her grandmother didn't even allow her to play with the kids in the streets. You know how in a township most kids are like, we don't have this play date thing. You
just show up.
play
Yeah.
every day.
Right.
Kids run around in the streets all day, but she didn't have that. She wasn't allowed to leave the yard. Um, so yeah, so the minute she actually now has to leave home, she doesn't really leave, but she starts varsity and meets people who have very different views, you know. She has this friend who's very pro-Black and pro-African and not into questions religion heavily. So Naledi comes from a very religious household. So that's something different for her. And
Did
then
they have like a heated conversation about that, or was she open-minded to the other friends' views?
she's open-minded, but because she's a girl who, I don't want to say caged, I'm trying to find the right word, but lived
In a box.
yes, very, because she couldn't have a lot of friends and stuff. She doesn't know how to express herself properly. So even though her friends do certain things, she sort of keeps it in. She's an introvert, very, very introverted kind of girl. So she might have questions, but she'll never address it. She'll never say, no, I disagree with your opinion. She'll just hold it in and ponder on it on her own.
Right.
But there is a third friend who grew up similar to Naledi. She had parents who were, her parents are pastors. She's a PK. Although she's the opposite, she's an extrovert. I don't want to say slay queen, but
Yeah,
she's the
very
type of girl who's
outgoing. Right.
yes, get it in that direction.
I get
So
it.
she has these conversations with my lady. She has these
Yeah.
these heavy, they clash a lot on certain things. But I won't say it's not that, it's not based on off my own personal life, but they bits and pieces that I drew from my own experiences. I did have a home. I did grow up in a very religious environment.
Right.
Maybe not as extreme as Naledi's grandmother, who she has a Bible verse for anything that happens. She has a Bible verse
One of
for it.
those, they
Like,
throw Jesus at you.
yes, yes. So it wasn't
Yeah.
as intense. My own life, no, but yeah, I grew up in a very religious space. So that aspect and the fact that I'm an artist, I put her in an environment that I understand very well.
Yeah.
So the art space, she becomes an artist.
Yeah.
And her friends are artists. Yeah.
I think then, you know, writers become predictable in that sense because, you know, I'm a teacher, so I put Rosa in a classroom. I mean,
but you have to write what you know.
yes, I
You
get
have to
it.
write. Yeah, you write what you know. It's hard to. I don't know anything about studying medicine, and I don't have friends who studied medicine. So it would be very. So I was like, I know it's typical to put her like in
an art space.
arts campus. Yeah, but I can't make her a mid student.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know
And
what textbooks does she read with,
and
you know?
besides, I don't know if you like, I understand why we did this, right? Like, there's other issues that you want to deal with, unpack. So it's like, okay, fine, let me put her in this typical, boring environment because I'm also in it. But then in that,
Yeah.
then she will have this explosion of an experience that I personally did not have. So you just kind of like exaggerate every experiences.
Mm.
Yeah. So you just put her in that because there's bigger fish to fry. So it's fine. I say
Yeah,
go for
yeah.
it.
Yes. You
Go
don't have
for
to
it.
crack your brain about, okay, now because you already have to do a lot of research. I mean, I'm listening to what your story is based on. There's a lot of research that went into that,
Yeah.
Trying to understand the Amhara people and how they live, what they eat, how they speak, and all of that. So now to have to add an extra task of trying
Yes.
to figure out
It's a
the position.
necessary. Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I get it. Wait, sorry, what was your initial question? Oh, how much of me is
How
in
much
the
of your
story?
life? Yeah.
You know, um, so I went through I w- I would also say about 30% is me personally, and the rest
Mm,
is like people that are very close to me. Um, you know,
mm,
um, and and I've said this before, like I didn't realize how attentive I was to other people's stories because I have to talk about,
yeah.
not that I had to, but I chose to talk about Asian people as well. And then it's like, whoa, man, I've never been Asian in my life before, you know?
Mm,
Um, so I've made friends here who are Asian, and obviously, because they're friends, then you converse and then you get to know a little bit more about them. So when I was writing the
mm,
stories, like all of their stories just came, popping up, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna steal this, oh, I'm gonna steal this, and oh, I'm gonna
mm.
steal this. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that was very, very interesting. And now I don't know, do you ever worry about this? That now when people talk to you, they'll think, what if I tell you
And then
something you would want to write about later, type of thing?
I hope they don't feel that way. I don't know. I hope if they feel that way, they haven't expressed it to me. Maybe, maybe as they read the book, like the more my friends like get into it, they'll be like, hold up, isn't this? I don't know. I don't know. But no, I didn't take like very specific things that happened to the people close to me and put it. No. Um, I got creative in terms of taking maybe one friend who inspires a certain character, has a certain personality and look, and then I
Right.
exaggerate.
Yeah.
Um,
Cherry on top.
yeah, I exaggerate the character just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know
That's
if that makes
yeah, that does make sense. I get it. Um,
sense.
I like, okay, so do you mention any of, like, do you get your characters to communicate in any of the South African native languages?
Yeah, it's because it's tricky because the book is in English, right? And I do write. I don't know how to write in Vernac, but I I often read books and wonder like how does this character really sound like?
Hmm.
So I try to get um I'm trying to think of the word, but like isms, little things about the way we speak, like saying "Hey Joe."
Right, right, right.
It's a very South African thing to say. Yeah, Mara,
Hmm.
So in
You
the
include
dialogue
that.
is very much set up like that. Yes, yes. So you do get a sense of how how certain people speak and what they sound like. There's a lot of there is a lot of vernac, I would say. And I used a lot of South African proverbs, idioms and sayings.
Yeah.
As my chapter heads, for each chapter heading, I used a South African idiom. And basically what happens within the chapter explains the meaning of that particular
What
idiom.
is
So
it?
it's
How does it go? If you don't mind saying.
like a different, it's all different. I've got the book with me. Page,
Take your time.
this one says, I don't know if you can see it.
Just read it. Just read it for me.
Something's fine. But it says, Ikude hilo elibiga uhusa, which means it is the cock that announces dawn. Yeah.
Sorry, you just reminded me of this. You remember this wedding song? Ikude wema lakala tatu se gusila manza. Sorry.
I remember that song. That's a serious throwback.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so do you want to explain what happens?
Yeah, it's the cock that announces dawn. In that chapter, there's this battle between Naledi's mom. Oh, but I don't want to. But there's this battle between who's the head of the household. Because culture and tradition says a man has the final say, a man is the head, don't speak over me when I lay down the law, this is how it should be. So as you read the chapter, it sort of goes into that, those patriarchal, cultural views. Yeah.
Whoa, that's interesting. I have a question now. Who is the head of the household in a situation like that, where it's just women, Whoa, okay.
Oh, but this is not in the grandmother's house.
Oh, okay. It's just somewhere else.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Okay. I get it.
Okay. I'm scared of
I know, giving it away, right? That's how I felt. That's how I felt. So it's like you just kind of ruin it for the new readers, and the old readers are like, oh yeah, no, we can relate to that. So you just kind of put in between, not knowing what to do. I get it.
Yeah. But Naledi's mom, she's not so present in the house, and she is chasing a certain lifestyle. She's trying to she's trying to secure the bag, right? By any means necessary. Yeah. So she finds herself in many situations, and in questionable situations, relationships.
I can imagine.
So that's very content. Yeah.
What are the challenges that you went through, other than trying to place your characters in the right environment? What are the challenges that you went through while writing this book?
I think for me, it was mainly because I said I never thought that I was writing a novel. Like when I initially started, I was writing poetry. That's the space that I understand. I understand stage, I understand theater, I understand writing in that space. So writing a novel was like diving into the deep end and trying to learn how to swim from there. Yeah. So that was my major challenge in I had to learn the technical aspects of writing, figure out how is it different to a script, where it just consists of mainly dialogue. here you have to sort of limit your dialogue, and there's a lot more into the emotions. How do you explain setting in a book? It's very different
That
to
is not as easy as people make it sound or look.
yeah. Yeah. So that was my main challenge. That was my main thing is learning how to write in this.
Right.
Yeah, how to write a novel, how to write fiction like this. Yeah. And what about you?
Challenges that I experienced.
Yeah.
I I think for me, I first of all, I did not realize how limited my vocabulary was until right.
Okay. Yes.
I I had to
Yeah.
I had to go back and because as I was editing the book and reading it, I was like, my goodness, I use this phrase a lot.
A lot.
Okay, yes, a lot, yeah. And then I had
Yeah.
onto the Word document and search the phrase that I was using. And then it came up 10 times. I
Yeah.
was like, let's Google synonyms.
Yes. Thesaurus is like your best friend. It's like
Yes, yes. But to be quite honest, I think the most challenging thing for me was formatting the book because I did everything myself. So I had to write and edit it, and then got my friends to edit, and then I edit some things. So then, I was like, oh snap, now I have to edit it again. So I edited it, and then I had to format it. And I
yeah.
was like, man, this is a lot. And
Yeah.
so I think for me, that was the biggest thing. Now, I mean, now I can do it. Like you say, okay, format my book. Sure, fine. I'll get it done in an hour.
Yeah.
I think that was the day
Wow.
where it took me the whole day. And I think I enjoyed it because I did like I woke up in the morning around 8, had breakfast, and then I sat. And then I was like, I'm gonna format this book. And then I formatted it.
Yeah.
The next time I checked the time, it was like 4 p.m.
Sure.
No, right? And then, it was like brother stomach going like, hey girl.
Yeah.
So
Did you want to self-publish? Or
yes,
did you try to, or you wanted to self-publish?
I wanted to do everything myself because I also like learning. So this was a one
Yeah.
experience for me. And it's like, first time mother, you get very possessive. You want to do everything. Yeah, yeah. So that was me. Also I just I thought about this and I was going to ask you this, like what process, like what steps you went through, to get your book published and stuff like that. And and geez, people are gonna think I'm crazy. I talk to myself a lot. Okay, so I was like, okay, ask her this, and then I was like, okay, what if she asks you the same thing? Then what are you gonna say? And then this is what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, eventually, I know I'll get to that stage where I have to find a publisher, right? Because I also want to like teach and have a full-time job and stuff. But then to me, as a first-time writer, this is what it looked like. It looked like you were in a polygamous relationship. You're getting into a relationship with somebody who has other people. So that means that you're special, but not that special, you know?
Ah.
Because,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, because I mean, they have to deal with other books, right? And you're over there like, this is my first. And then they're like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah. You
Right.
know what? For me, I just think a lot of attention is paid to celebrities and marketing their stuff, and but I'm happy with my publishers.
Yeah.
My publisher was great, but also you have to do the work. Um, you have to do the work. You really have to push yourself. You have to push your product. You have to push your story. Probably 80% of the bulk of the work is done by you anyway. So yeah, I get what you're saying.
Right. And
Yeah.
also, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I really respect what they do. They do a lot because there's a lot that is involved in actually, you know, just giving birth to a book and putting it out there. I think.
Mm.
What else did I want to say? I think because people will come um into your book. That sounds so wrong, but you get what I mean, right? People will
Mm.
come into your book with their own mindset, and
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like, this line does not sound right, and then it's like, yeah, it does. You're just reading it wrong. It's like, well,
You get very possessive. Yeah, you like listen.
yeah,
I remember someone wrote, I struggled with the writing style. And I just sat there thinking, I write so like my writing is so simple. Like, oh, what do you mean? You get very defensive, extremely defensive. Yeah,
yeah. Did you
I
change it
know.
though when somebody said you struggle with you? You see, the thing is, the reason why they say that is because they're already comparing you to what they know.
No, I didn't. I write very, very simple. Like,
Yeah.
um, I don't like complicating a book because I don't like reading complicated books.
Hmm.
And I'm not writing for academics. I'm not writing for other writers or to impress other writers. I would really, I want everyone to read the book. Like I said, I wrote a very South African story, so I would like every South African lady to read it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 And also, like, I write really short stories. Like The Big Fat Man. This is like the shortest book I've ever read. It's like 11 pages long. It's a kid's book. Sorry, now I'm advertising, but I'm trying to prove a point.
You
And
wrote it, right? I saw
yeah,
that on your Insta page.
yeah. I
Big
wrote the
fat
book.
man and big fat lady.
And
Or
The Big Fat Lady. The Big Fat Lady, how many pages are in here? This is also 11, right? And the Amhara is like one of the thinnest novels ever. It's like, so sorry, the lighting is too. Because
yeah.
in my head, I'm like, I want people to read, right? But people also have lives to live. So let's just get the thing out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, like also what you were saying earlier, you said you write what you like. So
Yeah.
and ideally I want to write a book that I would enjoy, that I want to read. There are certain books that I just struggle with because I'm like, oh, when you have to read a paragraph like 3 times before you get what this person is trying to say. And I'm like, that's so unnecessary.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's very unnecessary.
It reminds me of because I'm reading the Alchemist again for like the 11th time. It reminds
Yeah.
me of that where the boy Santiago thinks to himself, like some books are really difficult to read. When he writes a book, he will introduce one character at a time so that the reader
Yes, I
understands.
remember I remember that line.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, actually, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
Introduce two characters at a time so that
yeah.
a person can follow along. I really don't get this whole thing of introducing a lot of characters at once. I don't get it. Why do people do that? Anyways, they write what they like, so it's a free world.
I sometimes have to like page back and be like, who's this character again? Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know if you get that sometimes. You're
I
like,
get it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I always try to remind people of who a specific person is, especially if they've been like, if they haven't been a part of the story for maybe 3, 4 chapters, and then you suddenly bring them in. It's always good to like remind
Right.
the reader that this,
Right.
yeah, because I struggle with that. I also want to make the age very clear. because I struggle with age. I'm like, how old is this guy?
um, what are the questions that you're getting from people? What is at least the one common question that you're getting from people? It could be your readers, it could be your family, your friends.
I think you asked me the how much of my life people are like, are you 980? Uh,
No.
no. So that's a very common question. Like, and even my friends. There's a friend of mine who read the book and they're like, you're 980. I'm like, but
You know me, bruh.
you know me, like better than anyone. Like, really?
Right, right.
You know?
I get
Yeah.
it. I get
So
it.
that's yeah, I hear that a lot.
Mm.
I hear that story a lot. Yeah, that question a lot. Do you get common questions?
I think, yeah, like how long did it take to write the book? Then I'm just
Mm,
like, oh, okay, that's very tricky. How long did it take to write the four different stories that, I had to put together? That took
yeah.
took about 3, 4 years. How long did it take to write this book? Few months. Because all
Good
I
for
had to
you.
do,
Look, I'm working my way there. Like the next one has to be,
yeah. But I mean, I
yeah.
was I was on a mission because I just recently turned 30, so I wanted my books to be out before I turned 30. So I was like on a schedule.
Uh,
I had to push myself. I think that's another reason why I don't want to go through a publisher because I was like, oh, they're gonna delay me. No.
yeah.
So I wanted to do my own thing, but I'm
Yeah.
fine. And also I don't like entering into a space completely clueless. I didn't want to
Mm,
enter into the creative space with absolutely no idea of what to expect, So now
yeah.
when I actually go on there, I'll be like, no, you're ripping me off. Yeah, no one cares what you think. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm not like that.
So how do you sell your books? Is it
Um,
on
I wanted to put
Amazon?
it up on Amazon, and then I took it down.
Mhm.
Because I was like, oh, that's a little impersonal right now. I'm not there yet. So I'm a very sentimental person, right? So it's like, it's so nice for me when I know who has the book, you know. I know I will, I keep telling you this because the goal, it's like big, aim for the stars. Um, but I know where I'm going, but for now, it's so nice for me to know like who has my book and they say, hey, I would like to buy your book. And then I'm like, oh yeah, okay, fine, I'll send it to you. So people are still ordering from me at the moment. So the books are available here in Taiwan, um, and in South Africa. Yeah. So yeah, so far so good. I like it. It did interfere with my job at some point. But
No one has to know. They don't have to know. Your boss doesn't have to know.
did you still keep your full-time job?
Should I keep mine?
You have a full-time job, right?
I'm in the creative space. I've never worked in corporate. Um, don't think I ever will. I so I've been freelancing since I left school. Yeah,
Wow,
it's it's a hectic, stressful, frustrating, hard life, but um, yeah, I like to be me. I like doing what I love doing. I like to own my time. I don't like people owning me. And I'm just happy. I'm just happier in a creative environment. I like the fact that I can go to work in leggings, you know, no one's gonna say anything. I like.
Hey, I can also go to work in leggings. It's a thing now, you know?
As long as my thing is, as long as you're fulfilled, you have to do something that really, really fulfills you. I don't struggle to wake up in the morning. I don't have that, oh my gosh, it's Monday feeling, and that's just how I would like my life to continue.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a person who looks forward to the weekend, like, no. I want to be happy every day. I want to be fulfilled every day. So I've just stayed in this creative space. It's tricky. It's very tricky. You have to stretch yourself and pull out, use all your gifts and all your talents. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I kind of like that. I like that because there's this motivational video that I listened to. It's a compilation, and there's this guy that comes on. I memorized it, right? Because I listen to it all the time. He goes,
Yeah.
"When you die, die on E. Leave no dreams left behind." Like that. And then he goes on and on.
Die empty.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So, I mean, when you finally lay to rest, then you'll be like, "Whoo, Lord, yeah, I'm ready now."
Yeah. True. True. So I wanted to ask you, like, what is the one thing that you wanted people to get out of your story
um,
or the
that
story?
everybody has a story. I think that's what I wanted to show because, as I'm gonna get into trouble for this, but and it's because we have a history, I think as Black people we tend to victimize ourselves a lot, like poor me, I'm Black, poor me, my hair does not look like you and stuff like that. And I get where that's coming from, but because I was able to sit down and listen to other people, I realized that the social issues among the Caucasian community as well, there's a lot of issues among the Asian community as well.
Mm.
And like also within Africa as a continent, like what other African countries are going through, man, you will be the tribal wars in Ethiopia. My friend was telling me that it wasn't safe. I don't know if it still is. I'm afraid of reading the news because I don't want to see the imagery and stuff like that. So every person in life has a story, and who are you to think that your story is much more important than the other person?
Yeah.
So I think somebody once said this: it is really hard to hate a person that you understand. And so,
Mm.
not condoning any bad behaviors and stuff, but I'm just thinking that before you go on full on hate, just maybe sit back a little bit and ask yourself, and if you don't have the answers, then ask the person, "Hey, how are you today?" Like, what's going on? And you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised at what people go through. It's heartbreaking, and then that kind of makes sense. It still makes you frustrating, like, oh, I hate it when Vusi does this, but now you
Yeah.
understand he does this because Vusi has been abused, you know,
Yeah.
and it helps you and it helps him and it helps your relationship. So that's the one thing that I wanted people to take away from this, that yeah, every person has a story. And I think because I put Rosa in a classroom, i I also wanted people to be just like a sneak peek of what goes on, in a classroom full of kids who are very smart and bright and
Mm.
and who are aware of themselves and how the teacher feels about, in the company of those students and stuff like that. Because there's a part where Rosa has to leave the classroom. I will not say why. Buy the book. There's a part where
Yeah.
part where Rosa leaves the classroom and the kids in that moment become absolutely self-sufficient, you know? So yeah, those are the things that I wanted to show. And then I also, this is in the synopsis. I say, what do I say? Give me a second. Oh, I also wanted to. There's a part where I mentioned the interracial. I think it's just one. One is it one? An interracial relationship, just like this much of it,
Yeah.
and then there's a lot to unpack. Yeah,
Mhm.
there's a lot to unpack in that interracial relationship. I just remembered, and now I'm getting emotional.
Yeah, I can see. It's always your work is so precious. Like it's
Yeah,
there's so much of yourself, even though we're saying that it's not like you took your own personal experiences and stuff, but it's still very personal.
it is. Yeah,
There's a lot of yourself, there's a lot of your emotions and your
yeah,
views and your opinions and
right.
everything. It just you pour a lot. You have to be vulnerable
Yes.
in telling stories.
Was it therapeutic for you to write?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
because a lot of the stuff scared me.
Mm.
It's almost like you're opening yourself up a lot. Like anyone who reads your stuff will know, oh, so Palesa has been through, knows about this, you
Mm.
know, things that your family probably didn't know about you. Oh, is this how she sees me? Is this how she views? Are these her political views or are these, you know,
Yeah.
things that she thinks about? So it's scary to open yourself up like that and having to be like, you know what, I'm still gonna do it anyway.
Right, right.
To have to push past that fear or that anxiety that it can bring up, I think there is something healing about it.
Yeah, I get that. Who is who is who is the one or maybe two writers that made you feel like, man, I can do this? When you were reading their work and it was just so inspirational, you wanted to be a little bit like them.
Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie.
Yeah.
She's. I remember I read Purple Hibiscus, and I was like,
Did you cry? I think at some point I cried during that when I read
yeah,
that book.
that was like that inspired me to write this one because I'm like, there's so many coming of age stories that I've read. Nervous conditions, which is in Zimbabwe, and with Purple Hibiscus, it's in Nigeria. So I'm like, and there's dozens from America. You know, I just wanted a South African version, so that book made me go, okay,
I can do this.
I can, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I should.
Yeah.
Besides that I can, it was like I should do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I totally get that. Can I answer my own question? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Because you're about to say, how about you?
Yeah.
Definitely Chimamanda, and I learned so many life lessons reading fiction. This
Yes.
in one of her books. I think it was Half of the Yellow Sun. I think, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken. But then basically, the girl. Sorry, it was a long time ago, so I forgot the character name. So there's a girl and the boy in the boy's home, right? The boy is raised by a single mom. The mom
Mm.
walks in on the kids. I think they were like about to be intimate and stuff like that. And then
Mm.
the mother's boy has a conversation with the girl and says, life is really unfair. If anything happens, basically, if you fall pregnant, then it's all on you. That's how unfair life is. Like, he's my son, yes, but you will probably have to carry most of the
Yeah.
responsibility. And then I was like, ooh, life lesson over here. So
Yeah.
yeah, so in reading that, I was like, there is a lot of lessons that you can pick up from fiction. And I think with
Um,
Toni Morrison, I think she just gave me the audacity.
mm,
Stuff that she writes about, it's so audacious and it's like,
yeah,
wow, it's so empowering.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. She's magical.
Dude.
She's, but speaking about Chimamanda, your book reminds me of, well, listening to what it's about. It reminds me of Americana in a
Yeah.
way. I don't know if you've
I've read that one.
read
Yeah.
it.
Hmm.
Yeah, but it feels like
It has,
something. It feels like, yeah,
yeah. What are we gonna
navigating
what are we gonna do when
navigating the foreign world. Yeah.
because at some point, right, like you would have to read my book and I would have to read your book. What are we
Yes.
gonna do after that?
I don't know. We should do like a part two, I guess.
I guess so. I guess so.
Yeah, because obviously reading your thing is it's gonna bring up a lot of questions. It could be like a book discussion, a review of
Yeah, of each other's
this book.
books.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You are you're very sweet and welcoming. I like that.
No, you're very like you have a very bubbly energy.
Yeah.